Pretty tough words there from not only from Paul Rieckhoff, but also from others who are looking at what the Veterans Administration and the Department of Defense are doing. And they add it up and they say, you're not serving these veterans who gave so much to this country.
Well, I would start where Paul left off by talking about these veterans. I mean, they're the greatest people in our society. And my wife and I visit with wounded veterans every week. And I travel around the country visiting veteran centers, and not just the veterans, but their families. And I know what they're going through. So nobody cares more about our veterans than I do, and the 235,000 people at the VA. The VA is a very big and a very good organization. The likes of Harvard Medical School, ABC News have said it's the best healthcare system in the United States. It is unarguably the largest, but it also has its challenges. And the things that have been brought to light on these veterans that we've just seen and talked about are unacceptable. They're unacceptable. We see over 1 million veteran patients a week in our system of health care. That's veterans coming back from the war in Iraq, Afghanistan through. We even have a few World War I veterans. So it's very large, and we've got some things that have come to light that we have got to make sure, because any one of these cases is unacceptable to me, because I know the pain and suffering that these people go through.
You're saying it's first-rate medical care, and yet Mr. Rieckhoff and others are pointing out there's not the screening. Because we're here tonight principally to talk about traumatic brain injury, that there's not the screening for these soldiers and Marines when they come out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and not the screening when they leave active duty and become veterans.
Well, that's a point, and it was that there was not the screening. As Dr. Scott said last night on the program, said this is an evolving medical science, and not very much is known about traumatic brain injury. Most of what was known in this country was that of incidents of athletes, and so everybody is learning as we go. But what we are doing now at the VA is we're going to screen every veteran, every returnee from the combat zone for brain injury, every one of them. And we are those that we've detected with traumatic brain injury come into the finest polytrauma brain treatment centers in the world that we have. And then if they become more stable, we put them out into 17 regional centers. But a lot of them want to go home, and you can't blame them for that, especially after they get relatively stabilized. What we have to do now is make sure that when they go out to the next level and are being served by a VA medical facility, that there we have the trained clinicians, the caseworkers, and everybody that gives them the attention and the continued therapy that they need to progress.
But, Mr. Secretary, there have been reports going back by our account over a year, in some cases 2 years, noting that there were high numbers of soldiers and Marines coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan with what appeared to be traumatic brain injury, and there weren't the facilities to treat them. This is not a new problem. Why is the screening just starting now?
Well, first of all, the facilities, these really wonderful facilities, these polytraumatic, polytrauma centers, they've been in place for more than 2 years, and they do a phenomenal job. And they're all the disciplines are there for burn, amputations, brain injuries, and so forth. We've now added 17 more. As I said, this is an evolving phenomenon of brain injury, and he projected a number. I don't know what the number is, but I know that we need to be alert to it, screen for it, and then be able to treat it, whatever it is, because he is right. People that raise their hand and go off to serve our country and are injured as a result of that service, either mentally or physically, are entitled to the best health care that this country can provide, and that is at the VA, and that's what the people of this country want.
Again, we saw there was a report over a year ago quoting a physician at Walter Reed. Now, again, this is active duty, telling the reporter there is a distressing number of patients there who are not getting adequate screening and care. Many doctors, he said, know little about traumatic brain injury and are prone to making the wrong diagnosis. This is not new, is my question.
Well, it is quite new. I mean, I can't speak for Walter Reed, which is a Department of Defense facility, but the number that you used there for people that have had acute brain injury has been 312 people, and they have come to these centers that we established for that. Now, I'd like, if I could...
But out of 200,000 troops who've come out of Iraq and Afghanistan, only it's hard for people to believe, only 320 or so have been diagnosed with this.
That's the number that have been diagnosed with very acute brain injury. I'd like, if I could, to clarify that 200,000 number, because I was quoted kind of out of context in that. The 206,000 people that have come to the VA are people who've come back from the combat zone, and that is people for all reasons, but they were not the people that have been who were wounded in theater.
They were not all necessarily severely
That's about
wounded.
26,000. I think about half of those very seriously wounded. This is a number of people because this grateful country of ours is giving these people, the National Guardsmen Reserve, the right to come to the VA now for health care, and that is new. So they come for all reasons. General medical maintenance. I mentioned that some do come for dental, some come for a vision problem or hearing or an orthopedic problem. That's the total of those that have come to us. And now, as I said, we're going to screen everyone that comes to us for brain injury.
But just to wrap up here, stepping back, you're the head of the Veterans Administration. To hear this flood now of stories, criticism, just the comments from Mr. Rykoff, who's described as a political independent. This is not a political vendetta in any way.
Well, I hope it's not.
Being as critical, does it make you angry? I mean, how are you feeling about all this? What do you want to say to everyone who's watching you right now, saying, why is it like this?
Well, it's absolutely unacceptable for any one of these young people and their families to have to endure those circumstances that we saw. And we're going to fix this. We're taking steps as we speak, literally, to make sure that no one falls through the crack. I said it's big, it's good, over 1 million people a week that we see, but if one is not being well treated, especially a young combatant, that is unacceptable. And that just breaks my heart. And I know a lot of these people, that have been injured. My wife and I make a point of visiting with them regularly as we travel around the country and here in Washington. So we're gonna fix this. We're gonna take some drastic steps. What you haven't asked me about is also the waiting times on claims. It is too long. It is too complicated, and I'm going to engineer a way to expedite that for these young people that are coming back from the war, because it's taking too long.
But there are people who are saying this war has been going on 4 years. These reports have been out there. Why did it take this long for you and others in the administration to act?
Well, I will say that a lot of good work has gone on, and you and anybody else can go out and talk to a lot of veterans who give high praise to Walter Reed or Bethesda or the VA for the care. Most of them will say that, but unfortunately that is not the case in every one, and there is this confluence, it looks like, of these cases that have come to light, and out of this, good will come, because we can improve the system. It's good, but it's not perfect, and so we're hard at it to get it that way, because they deserve no less. They're really the best people from our society. They volunteered to go and defend us in our freedom in this war of terrorism, and the president is extremely supportive. Our budgets have gone up 77% since he became president. My budget that I'm testifying tomorrow on, we're asking for a 10% increase. It's at $87 billion. So we will have the resources and we have the will, and we need to make these corrections that are absolutely needed.
Secretary of Veterans Affairs Jim Nicholson, we thank you very much for coming in to talk with us.
Thank you.